All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let's continue. It is Wednesday. We're going to do some wisdom of the ages on a Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday or Wednesday wisdom. Honestly, let's just see where this goes. So I'm all the way on page 76 of Wisdom of the Ages here, and today's chapter is titled Humility. However, the poem by Alexander Pope, 1688 to 1744, is titled Solitude. So let's dive into the poem and then we'll see where this reading today takes us. All right, Solitude. Happy the man whose wish and care a few paternal acres bound, content to breathe his native air in his own ground, whose herds with milk, whose fields with bread, whose flocks supply him with attire, whose trees in summer yield him shade, in winter fire. Blessed who can unconcernedly find hours, days, and years slide soft away, in health of body, peace of mind, quiet by day. Sound sleep by night, study and ease, together mixed sweet recreation and innocence, which most does please with meditation. Thus let me live unseen, unknown, thus unlamented let me die, steal from the world and not a stone tell where I lie. Alexander Pope. That's a good one. That's a good one. English poet and satirist Alexander Pope was the literary dictator of his age and regarded as the epitome of English neoclassicism. Wayne Dyer continues here. At first reading, this very famous poem by Alexander Pope appears to be exclusively about the importance of finding peace and quiet as a prerequisite to happiness. And indeed, this is a theme not only of this poem, but of much of the work of this early 18th century poet who lived in Windsor Forest outside of London. He had a curvature of the spine and a tubercular infection that limited his height to 4 feet 6 inches, and he suffered severe headaches throughout his life. Yikes. His deformity and illness made him particularly sensitive to physical and mental pain, and therefore the solitude of nature and the ability to be self-sufficient away from the noise and mayhem of the crowds was a subject of his poetry and probably a focus of his life. All that. Our late 20th century natural world is vastly different from the one Pope was born in 300 years ago, making his poetic advice even more significant for us today. Content to breathe his native air in his own ground, quote from the poem, in today's world often means eyes burning from the smog of our cities, inhaling noxious fumes and breathing in pollutants. Those of us who can feel self-sufficient by milking our herds and fleecing our sheep and warming our bodies from the trees on our property when they're not providing shade are few and far between. Furthermore, mighty few of us are blessed who can unconcernedly find hours, days, and years sliding soft away with the health of body, peace of mind, quiet by day. Like, that's something we should reach and strive to get back to. And it's so interesting as we come to this time in history and we start to look back on the old ways when people grew their own food and the wood, like that's a great example there. The trees that you no longer needed during the winter time that weren't coming back next year, you use for firewood. It keeps you warm all winter, cooks your food. And it's almost like there was a time, and there was, when at least some of us were living in a way to where we were not only owners of our houses and our land and our property, but we were self-sufficient, to where we didn't have to go to a grocery store. We didn't have to go to, all these other intermediary middlemen, money-making type of situations. And, to get back to this wonderful, natural, peaceful existence, despite his own personal struggles in his life, that Alexander Pope is talking about here. All right. Instead, we experience increasing levels of physical deterioration because of environmental illness and higher levels of stress. And see, that's also a byproduct of this intense modern society that we've come to find ourselves in, which is weird. It's like we don't take the credit for building it. We just find ourselves here. Now, a noisy world of all manner of landscaping power motors, portable leaf blowers, bulldozers, jackhammers, trucks, and sirens bombarding our senses, Pope's nearly 300-year-old poetic advice is certainly pertinent in today's world. The first 3 verses of this poem refer to the need to breathe clean air and find self-sufficiency in nature and enjoy some solitude and quiet during the day. Now this, what he's talking about here, has huge impacts on the chemical processes in our bodies, which can then lead to either disease or health through ease. The breathing clean air, that point there made me think about the 3 things when it comes to health. And that's, the first thing that you need to survive, that you can't go without for a few moments. There are those there are those that can do great feats, but for the majority of us, it's only maybe a minute or so that we can go without air, maybe even less than that, 30 seconds, 40. But then what's next? Thing you can't survive without? Water. And so you rank these levels of importance in relation to your health and the quality of the air or the quality of the water, or then the third one on the list would be the quality of the food that we eat. And if we could increase the quality of those things, all 3 of them, starting with the air that we breathe, makes you think about, filters and humidifiers. Like, how often do you clean your furnace filter? Just a thought. But anyways, so keep that in mind when you go forward in regards to health. Clean air, cleanest water you can get possible, and the best food you can get possible. And each of those, in relation to its importance on surviving moment to moment, is air number 1, water number 2, food number 3, has that much more effect. All right, let's get back into this. Sorry. The self-sufficiency in nature. Enjoy some solitude and quiet during the day. I encourage you to do all that you can to bring these elements into your life, regardless of where you reside. Take the time to get out of the city and be in nature, where bliss awaits you in a quiet place, or in quiet places. In the 4th stanza, Pope poetically describes how to enjoy sleep, sound sleep, by mixing together recreation with innocence and meditation. Interesting. I've written elsewhere in this book on the importance of daily meditation, so I will not repeat that here. But some of the remaining ingredients for a happy life, study, ease, recreation, and innocence, are a mix of perennially good advice for any era. When I give myself the freedom to study subjects of interest, time to ease myself out of pressure, play tennis, swim, or run during the day, I know the childlike innocence that does most please, in quotes, particularly as it melds with meditation. These four stanzas of Solitude, Alexander Pope's most famous early poem before The Rape of the Lock, provide a smorgasbord of ingredients for happiness. They represent a call to commune in as natural and stress-free an environment as possible. That's important for us to try to add into our lives. And if we don't, I think that's why it's important to study these things and go over them, is because, unless somebody's telling you this, you don't really get this kind of advice in life. Nobody's like, all right, guys, listen today. The advice is, unless you're reading these books or listening to these kind of videos, podcasts, or whatever it is, but they represent a call to commune in as natural and stress-free an environment as possible. I encourage you to heed his poetic counsel, no matter how urban, crowded, or noisy your daily life might be. I personally find myself repeatedly drawn to the final stanza of this poem. Thus let me live, unseen and unknown. I've had the rare privilege to be in the presence of some divine beings and avatars. My most lasting impression of these highly evolved people is that they have subdued their egos and lived as silent sages, unwilling to bask in the halo of light of their own divinity. I want to go back to the poem real quick. Kind of compare it to what he said about that last stanza there. And let me live, unseen and unknown, thus unlamented. Let me die, steal from the world, not a stone, tell where I lie. And not a stone, tell where I lie. They have literally chosen to disappear as physical beings, going back to talking about these silent sages. They take or seek no credit for their great gifts, and in fact, they attribute them all to God or a higher power. I added that. When St. Francis of Assisi, the great healer of the 13th century, was asked why he didn't heal his own sickly body, he responded that he wanted everyone to know that it was not he who was doing the healing. For me, the measure of greatness and happiness is the ability to subjugate ego to the point of needing no credit for accomplishments, to be beyond needing gratitude or applause, to be independent of the good opinion of others, to just be doing what I do because it is my purpose to do so. That's powerful. That's something that I've been practicing here. I think in the last 7 days, I've got 6 views or whatever on this channel, but so that's not the purpose. That would be seeking credit and going for recognition of things, when rather, with consistency, this is what I've learned, with definite purpose backed by a burning desire. If you know where that's from, leave that in the comments below. And then consistency to continue when there is no credit or great gifts or, approval, praise, all these things that we're seeking. Remember, approval seeking is a disapproving thing. So just be on purpose. I'm going to try to find my spot here. I was kind of ranting there. He's a great healer. He wanted people to know that it was not he who was doing the healing. Subjugate ego to the point of needing no credit for accomplishments, to be beyond needing gratitude or applause, to be independent of the good opinion of others, to just be doing what I do because it is my, yours, or all of our purpose to do what it is that we want to do. It's hard. It seems like successful people almost do this. They do what it is that they want to do, and then they advance confidently in the direction, of their own dreams and desires and endeavor to live a life. I was going into the Thoreau quote there, but it's like when we do this, and then over time, even though there was no results at first, it starts to build and it starts to build. And then 10 years later, you find that you've made something great. Here's a little that reminded me. I have a little, what do they call it? The fortunes out of a fortune cookie. I've kept it here because it reminds me of what I'm saying now, despite being a little off topic. Through greater effort and hard work, a precious dream comes true. Kind of relates to what we're saying here, but at the same time, it contradicts the part about peace and quiet places and solitude. It's interesting. I'm always fascinated by that paradox of being completely satisfied with where you are, peace, solitude, you're complete and whole in each moment, but then also wanting to grow and, have goals and achieve. It's interesting, the balance and the paradox of those kind of opposites. All right, let's get back to the reading here. The spirit of what it truly means to be impeccable or magnificent, to learn to give anonymously and resist the temptation to be praised, is beautifully expressed in the film classic Magnificent Obsession, which I have personally never seen. If you have, leave a comment about that. Once we stop needing glory, Wayne Dyer continues, we experience a new kind of freedom. As the poet says, thus unlamented let me die, steal from the world, and not a stone tell where I lie. I have felt this in the presence of true greatness. It is a kind of humility that I imagine the Nazarene, he says Jesus of Nazareth, Buddha, Lao Tzu, exuded. Let me go through that again real quick. I have felt this in the presence of true greatness. This is kind of humility that I imagine Jesus and Buddha and Lao Tzu exuded. When I sat before Mother Mira, a divine teacher from India who resides in Germany, I gazed into her divine eyes. She was so egoless as to reach me without words. And I truly felt as if she needed no recognition now or ever for her incredible spirituality. Interesting. When Carlos Castaneda wrote of his association with the Naguals, the great spiritual teachers, he was intrigued by their anonymity and humility. See, I'm learning as I'm reading this. I haven't really read. That's why I'm going through this with you, so I can get my own revelations along the way, and hopefully you can as well. It's fascinating, though. These great high-level guru type or spiritual individuals have this kind of anonymity or anonymousness. It's like they're not seeking to be praised. These were ordinary appearing beings possessing extraordinary awareness, living profoundly yet humbly, ever present but almost invisible. These are the paradoxical qualities that I read into the concluding stanza of Alexander Pope's poem. Learn to live unseen and unknown, free of the need to be noticed. Do what you do because you feel guided, and retreat in dignity and peace. My first physical contact with my contemporary teacher, Guruji, involved complete silence that lasted for almost an hour. Words were unnecessary, Wayne Dyer says. I was giving a manifesting meditation to teach, which, because of Wayne Dyer's influence on my life, is the meditation that I use almost every day. I'd like to say I've gotten it to daily, but I'm probably up to 5 days a week, more often than not. Sometimes I'll hit every day. But I was given a manifesting meditation to teach, yet he has never mentioned wanting credit for it. The greatest teachers are aware of the need to maintain anonymity and humility. No one summed this idea up better than the ancient Chinese teacher Lao Tzu, who has a chapter dedicated to him in this book. He reminds us, all streams, now we're going back to the Tao here. Yesterday was Tuesday Tao, and so go and check that out. I think we're up to 14 in that series so far. He reminds us, all streams flow to the ocean because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. To apply the wisdom of Alexander Pope's poem, Solitude, I suggest you consider these ideas. Wayne Dyer gives to us always wonderful suggestions. Take time out of your day for periods of solitude to do nothing more than be silent. Subdue the strident noises of your life by playing soft classical music in the background of your home or business, if possible. The Mozart effect creates a sense of balance and peace that literally increases productivity and decreases stress. Give yourself extended time to be in nature, listening to the sounds of animals and birds, winds and surf and air, and to breathe in the non-polluted air slowly and deeply. Wilderness time is a great therapy for rejuvenating yourself, and this is proven. It's one of those things that's common sense. It's just not common practice. We all know this. We just, for some reason, don't remind ourselves and then have the discipline to go do it and reap the rewards. It's kind of like, there's somebody I was talking to as a business doing skincare. He said it's hard to get people to keep coming back because they don't see the results immediately. It's kind of like the results are invisible until over a long period of time you're like, wow, it really has made a difference. And that's the same kind of thing for our mind, that taking time to meditate or taking time to get into nature, to calm down, to quiet ourselves is the greatest therapy. Take a yoga class or use a video that teaches you the beginning exercises for bringing your body into harmony. Make yoga a regular part of your day. And this is something that I've wanted to do, just a super simple, like you don't have to do crazy stretches, but find like the simplest. There's one where you lock your arms and you just turn back and forth and you breathe. And there's super simple things that I think can, if it's hard for someone to meditate or whatever, you can use these little simple body movements. Practice giving anonymously to anyone in need, not asking for praise. Make this your magnificent obsession. I encourage you to see both magnificent obsession and brother sun, sister moon, which is the story of St. Francis and his transformation into a humble, giving spirit in the 13th century. Remember Henry David Thoreau's metaphysical description, which sums up the essential message of solitude. Humility, like darkness, reveals the heavenly lights. Fantastic, fantastic chapter. Next one is Truth and Beauty, with a piece from Ode on a Grecian Urn from John Keats. The Grecian Urn. Man, that last bit there about giving anonymously to anyone in need, that reminds me of the teaching that Matt Belair always gives that he got from his Native American elders, which was do 3 kind acts a day and go out of your way to do it and don't tell anyone. Don't seek praise. That was a great chapter about humility, not seeking praise, but also finding peace and quiet and its purpose and, necessity in our lives. All right. I think that'll be a fantastic addition to our Wisdom of the Ages. I'm going to try to do Tuesday Tao, Wednesday Wisdom, and we'll see where we go from there, ladies and gentlemen. So if you got value, smash the like button, even though that's a thumbs up. Yeah, smash the like, consider subscribing, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. I really appreciate everybody who watches. A1 Smudger, shout out to you guys, leaving comments means a lot to me. The fact that anybody would take time out of their day to not only listen, but then comment to what I'm saying. Time is our most valuable asset. And so to use it this way, I hope I can give you value for using the value of your time with me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay good. We'll be back in the future. Oh yeah, seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment. Seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages. And let's start bringing happiness to life and making happiness the way. All right, love you. Stay good.